Well, hello there. I'm Zan, and today I'm going to be painting Morris, who's a little orange tabby cat, on this 9x12 canvas. The portrait I'd like to do of Morris is a full body portrait, and this is a fairly small canvas for that. So I'm going to do an extra step of surface preparation, which I'll show you in a sec, that's going to help smooth out this surface so that I can get in more detail. Now the surface is already covered in gesso, so it's got one layer of gesso on it. I'm going to add another, and I'm going to do it in a very particular way, using a scraper. So I like doing this on canvases that are small, where I want a lot of detail. Dip in there, get some on my scraper, and down it goes. I'm just going to scrape this smooth. And when I get lumps in it, I'm going to pick them out with my finger. Now what the smoothness does, or rather what the scraper does, is it fills in the little bumps between the canvas weave to make for a smoother surface. And I like the sound it makes. Yeah, neat. Once it's all covered in one coat of paint, I can start smoothing it out. And I'm going to get the edges with a nice big brush. There. Ta-da! Very carefully, without getting more paint on our fingers, place it up here to dry. So my canvas is dry, I've got my reference, it's time to get started. For my palette, I'll tell you which colors I'm using before I put them down. Put that guy over there, and we've got some titanium white, always something I start with. Raw umber, beautiful for warm shadows. Raw sienna, which will make up some of the more orangey colors that we've got, and a brighter orange, alizarin orange. And that'll come through in some of the bright, vivid oranges on Morris's head and body in the light. Let's grab a brush here, and I think I'm going to use orange as my sketch color. Now, I love using alizarins because they're a translucent color, and they show up just beautifully when they go on light. So let's see what we got here. Looking at how big he is and where he's sitting on canvas. Not paying attention to any of his features, just where is he on the canvas itself. There's a little post he's sitting on, kind of there. His little feet come out to about there, go up. That. One ear forward. That comes out too far, so we're just going to push that back a little with a different brush. And I'm not worried that this is kind of grayish here, because I'm going to be turning this background into a nice green color. So as long as I can see where Morris ends and the background begins, I'm a happy Zan. A little bit of a darker color there just to really make that edge pop. Starting to look a little bit cat-like. Now I'm going to really stand back and squint to see if I've got him in the right place. Sometimes I get it right the first time, but not always. He's not quite big enough. In particular, he's not quite wide enough. He comes out all the way over here. Yeah, and his ears are more up here, so we're going to give him some more real estate there. I love that you can just kind of push the paint around like this when it's wet and it oils. With acrylics you can paint over it, which is also great. With oils you can just kind of push it over there. So this is getting nice and muddy. I'm going to add a little bit more of a darker color so that I can see what I'm doing. Yeah, that one's some raw umber here, being fairly light with this. This area in his chest is darker and redder. I find that in the shadows, colors get more saturated. So I need to be careful that I use browns and reds, in the case of an orange cat, to darken my shadows instead of just using black. Because otherwise I get what looks like gray, and it'll make his fur look really gray. So I'm going to use a very bright magenta here and mix that in with my alizarin orange and add a little bit of my dark brown to that, and let's see what we get. First, I want to do something really fun and just add like bright orange to his chest. Ooh, it's so orange. Look at that. Ha! Okay, for real though, we got a couple of the darks coming in now. And this should help sort of show where he is, where his outlines are. And he's got a little tail coming up over his haunches. Some under chin there. You notice when I do the eyes, I'm really not worried at all about the detail of them. I'm using this great big brush to indicate where his eyes are. I like doing that because I'm going to keep moving them around, pushing them around, until I get something that looks right. And by letting it be a big brush, I'm just not going to get bogged down in details too early. So I can just keep moving that eye around until it's in the right place for sure. Now, I'm not sure about that yet. I think it's probably still too low. There. We'll try that on for size. We'll see if it sticks. Now I'm just kind of filling in where I think the shadows are so that I can get a feel for his roundness. Cats are very round creatures. They're lovely for their roundness. All right, let's stand back again and look. And I strongly suspect that now his head is too big. But let's see. In fact, I'm even going to take a picture. Compare it on my computer. Yeah, he is a little big. Well, we err too far in one direction, we err too far in the other. Let's find a middle ground. I think I'm going to need some green for this, though, because I want to start carving in with the background. Sap green. This is one of my favorite colors. And a little bit of gray to give it some opacity. That looks different. Isn't it interesting how you can carve away the background or carve away a cat with a background? This looks really neat. This is one of my favorite stages of a painting. Add a little bit of medium to my brush. Get some flow going. I think his eyes are still a little low down. Nose is definitely too low down. Now I need another pushing stuff around brush, but this one's now green, so I need to have another one. And this is how we wind up with way too many brushes in our hand. There, how's that looking? I'm getting a better feel for where everything should be going. So I think it's time to start filling in more of the background, and then I can start getting his shadows and light areas more nailed down. We're going to work from being translucent with these paints to adding colors like titanium white. Okay, not a color, but pigments like titanium white, so that he gets more opaque. And that'll really change the nature of the color, so I'm excited to do that. I'm going to go with a softer brush here. Get some more opacity into this area. When I say opacity, I mean I'm going to start mixing in some white to some of these colors. You'll notice that really lowers the saturation, so it's not as bright a color when I do this. Really changes the feeling. Starting to see a little bit of stripes there. Let's get another hint of that pink going on. I want to get the red in his ears in. And I notice it becomes much darker near the base of his ears. Now, cat's ears do an interesting thing, where even though they end up around here, or like you might see that as where they join the head, they've got this dark shadow that comes more onto their head than you'd expect. The shadow of the ear. So now I'm starting to do a few little brush strokes in the direction of the fur itself, or in the direction of the stripes. And these will slowly build up to become the texture of his fur. I think that tail's a little too big there. Alright, time to get some more background in, which reminds me, get the top of the stump too. Just a hint of whitish blue up there, and then a whole bunch of green here, deepening to dark green there, and then a little bit of brown coming forward. I like leaving my backgrounds abstract and brushy like that. This gives the eye something interesting to do when it's roaming around the canvas. Hint of sky blue up there, and I'm just going to bring that down into the stump as well. Maybe a touch on the top of his head. And the rest has got to be dark, so I'm going to need some more sap green. Once I get some of the shadows cast by the eye ridge onto the eye itself, I can continue with more of the details on Morris's face. nest, it's time to get some real stripes going. I'm bringing in a more opaque, dark orange over the pretty washy light orange that's already there. Let's keep bringing in dark stripes all over Morris's body. When I add details to these stripes, I'm going to come back over them with a kind of light yellow, I think. I like roaming all over the canvas with a color. When I first started doing these, I kind of started in a corner and just went. But now I tend to work more all over to make sure the whole piece is working together. Now we get to one of my favorite parts. The eyes. Eyes are all about shadow and gloss. Because they don't just reflect light. They do something kind of magical with it. They absorb it past their surface and onto the iris. And their wetness, their liquidiness, gives them an extra oomph somehow. So when I'm doing eyes, there's more contrast. There's more contrast in the shadows. And you can see the roundness is created by the dark green on the upper half of the eye and the really, really pale sky blue on the lower half of the eye. A lot of that blue is just reflected from the sky. For these details, I'm using a little brush and a light color. That makes a lot of fine lines in the direction of Morris's fur. My bright opaque whites go over the darker colors really easily, so I can pick out hairs that are catching the light. Go along here. I'm just refining features, adding hair, brightening highlights, deepening shadows, making the edges crisp. Now that the background's complete, I can come back over with some of my favorite details. Fine lines of whiskers. And the brush I'm using for these isn't all that small, because I want it to be able to hold enough paint to do the whole hair without running out. Filbert brushes, the ones that are flat with a rounded edge, are great for this. And now for one final detail that really makes a portrait come alive. That bright spot of light where the sun reflects off a shiny eyeball. And there we go. A finished portrait of Morris the Orange Tabby sitting on his post and keeping watch. I hope I was able to show you something helpful today in painting cats, or painting whiskers, or painting stripes, or painting fur. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.